Hi, I'm Maya, and this is the channel Bookworm Dreams. So let's wrap up the HRCYED TBR game challenge prompt. So I read the 4 books on this challenge. One was a DNF, so I had to scramble and pick another one. So let's just get to it. So I played the TBR game, The Lord of the Reeds, the 2 libraries, which is created by the channel Unbounded Library. I will leave the link somewhere for the video where I played the game and where I got my TBR. And I will leave all the information in the description box about the creator of the game. So you can go check it out for yourself and play for yourself because there is a digital version. It's very fun. So the first prompt I got was to pick a book from a TBR jar, and I picked The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chakshi. In Gilded Wolves, we follow a group of thieves in 19th century Paris, and they're all young people. When I mean young people, I'm thinking of people between the ages of 18 and 21 maybe. I only know for one character for sure how old she is because she has a set timeline. Like she's gonna die at 19 and she has to do some stuff to prevent that. That's the only person I know. And then when you see other characters interacting with each other, they refer to them as boy or girl as they are young people. So like I'm thinking new adults. Let's call it like that. So in this world, the magic is called forging, and it comes from the pieces of the Tower of Babylon, which the Crusaders, when they were crusading, got and brought to Europe. And this piece that the French people now have travels around somewhere Western Europe. It's hidden a lot because it's very powerful, and if you try to use it for more than they're using, there were people in the past trying to use this piece because of its great power and ability to create civilization and whatnot, to become, more powerful, to become gods and whatnot, and then they disappeared. And our crew of thieves is basically the leader of our crew of thieves, Severin, is trying to bring back his fallen family. There, people around Europe have, magic abilities because of this, piece of the Tower of Babylon. And those people, they are sort of tested, or when they are found out that they have an affinity, they are sent to schools where they can learn how to harness their power, because you can forge matter, so you can have power over matter and over mind, and according to your abilities, you go and learn to do your thing. So in his crew, you have like 4 people. Then Hypnos joins later, right? So you have Tristan, who is Severin's brother, who has an affinity with plants, and basically he does landscapes. Then we have Zofia, who has a mechanical ability, and she also can. So she sort of sets things on fire when she's angry. She's also like autistic coded. It's not really specifically said, but you can see that through her interactions with other members of the crew and other people in the book. Then you have, oh my God, I want to say Layla, but I could be wrong. Okay, so she moved from India to Paris because she's the one with the ticking time bomb that she's going to die at 19 for reasons I'm not going to spoil here. So she joined the crew before, and she basically is helping Severin with his things so he can help her find this magical book that will save her life. Her affinity is that she can read objects, so she can touch an object and see its history and people who dealt with it and such. So that's her thing. I'm waiting for a bike to pass. And then we have Enrique, who is Filipino. He is a historian. Does he have magic? I can't remember if he has an affinity or not. But basically, he is their historian, and he helps them, figure out stuff and whatnot. So all of them can fight. All of them have abilities. All of them have been, throughout the book, they keep like referencing and mentioning different kinds of acquisitions that they went on to find things. And dear God, it's just quips and stuff. And it was cool at the beginning of the story because I was thinking, oh my God, this is like a really, 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 really cool episode of The Librarians. This is a TV show. And this is going to be so fun. But the quips got old quite quickly, and they're just for a crew that is like, so they're, they keep saying how smart they are and how good they are at their jobs. And, they do get into trouble and they manage to find their way out. But I was so frustrated at one point where they were trying to figure out where the headquarters of something is, and it was so obvious. And I was like, dudes, it's so obvious. How can you not know this? I had to read a chapter of each character, thinking and ruminating on this thing until they got to the conclusion that it is where I thought it was at the beginning. And it was so fucking frustrating. And just the whole, oh my God, we're so smart, we're so funny, we're so quippy, we're so, competent thing got really old. And I was just so annoyed by the characters. I mean, the adventure itself was very like the Da Vinci Code coded, because there were some religious and historical hints that you got, and they were like solving puzzles, and it was, it was interesting in that aspect. And there were lots of themes of like colonialism and how people who are not white are treated in 19th century Paris and the world. So yeah, I was just so annoyed by the characters. And it sort of ends in a cliffhanger, and the ending was so unsatisfactory because Severin on purpose just messed up the entire group. And because stuff happened, and it was just so like he didn't have to do that, but I guess it had to be done so the second book can happen. And I'm like so not interested at all to continuing this series, because oh my God, it's just no. Also, I read some reviews of the second book and everybody says it's slow. It's like, ugh, no. So yeah, I read that. My second prompt was to read a book that has been recommended, and for that I picked Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, and I started reading it and I DNF'd it at 11%. So in Icebreaker, which is a very popular ice hockey romance, where we follow Anastasia, who is in college somewhere in California, and she is an ice skater, and she has a ice skating partner called Adam, and Adam was the one who ruined the book for me, and I did not want to read a whole book with Adam in it. The other character we follow is Nate. I already forgot their names. He is an ice hockey player, and he's the captain of their ice hockey team, and because of the actions of the member of his team, their stadium ice hockey ring arena thingy, whatever place where they train, has been wrecked and it can't be used anymore. So they have to share the ice skaters arena. But think of this, this was kind of blew my mind. So it's a college in California that has 2 ice rinks. So one for the ice skaters and one for the hockey guys. Why? Anyway, so they have to share, and I didn't even get to that part because I was so, because, they had a whole meeting, every ice-related sport people had a meeting, and they were like, this is the situation, you're going to all have to use just the one ice ring, and, let's talk about how to make this work. And Nate then talked to Anastasia, and Anastasia was just pissed off for like no fucking reason the entire time. She was like trying to like be, I don't know, is she the grump or something? I don't know. It was just so annoying because she was angry for no reason. Immediately angry at Nate because, look, I have to share my fucking ice ring. Jesus Christ. And, and he was like, just come to my party. Let's hang out. Let's, become friends and try to, work together to make this work better. And at the party, she was angry for no reason again. And her fucking, and Adam, let's talk about Adam, who I fucking hate. Adam, from the beginning that we saw him, first of all, slut shames Anastasia because she has friends with benefits situation with some basketball guy, right? And he's like, when she goes to meet him, or she's like, oh, he's slut shaming her the entire time. And when any boy comes near Anastasia, he just, is very not pleasant, and he's just awful. And then he also, which bugged me worse, which just was like the nail in the coffin for this book. How do you call that? Is that food shaming? When she basically, first of all, throughout the book, since they're ice skaters have to like lift their partners up and throw them and whatnot. And he's like, you could lose a few pounds because having trouble, like, fucking girl is like nothing. Because, this thing could work better, the dance or whatever they have to do the routine, but you could lose a few pounds. So whenever she, comes near food, he's like, do you think you should eat that? And he like gives her shit because when her friend comes over to hang out and he brings her snacks that she loves, and he's like, should you eat that? And I was like, no, fuck no. Like she even has a saying, I think Anastasia at one point said in this 10%, like she doesn't like that she's eating a salad right now because, she's out with her friend, and, he would, if she were out with her friend, he would make her eat a hamburger and whatnot, eat normal food, eat something more substantial than a salad and whatnot. And then Nate, once when he met Adam, he was like, well, dude, if you can't lift her, then maybe you should get stronger. Like, what the fuck, dude? So yeah, I could not deal with this the entire book, and I went to see what happens with Adam. Adam basically, I think, gives Anastasia a eating disorder because he like makes her an eating plan or something, and then just fucks whatever because he loves her and he just doesn't know how to express stuff, so he bullies her. Like, fuck no. So yeah, I DNF'd that at 10%, and I was just in a pickle then because I wanted to fulfill this project. So I was on vacation with my sister, so I was just like, that, please recommend me a graphic novel, because I remember last year she reads lots of graphic novels, so she recommended me Plunge by Joe Hill because she knows I like Joe Hill's books. So I read Plunge. Plunge is a horror graphic novel in which we follow a group of people. So there was a rogue tsunami that lifted an old sunken ship. Yes, an old sunken ship. They lifted an old sunken ship somewhere off the coast of Russia. The ship basically started emitting a signal, SOS signal. So the company that owned the ship, they hired a salvage crew and a marine biologist to go and see what the fuck is up with the ship, because it was a research ship and they went somewhere to research things in a place where a meteor fell. And they found the ship. The ship, it's not doing well, abandoned, and they ended up on this little island near where the ship sank, and found the members of the ship alive. I mean, alive, but controlled by something. And this is where the horror starts. And it was a quick read, but it was horror-y, and I'm squeamish, and I was like, oh, this is gross. It was okay. I enjoyed it. It was fine. I didn't like at the end where people were just pulling like explanations out of their asses, because I don't want to spoil the ending, but something happens and there was like a tear somewhere. I mean, I don't want to spoil the ending, but they're all, oh my God, I'm looking at something and I know exactly what it is and what it means and what is happening. It was just kind of too much. It was like, okay, great. I'm sure you know all of this because you are a marine biologist and you're looking at space stuff. Like, dude, come on. So yeah, it was fine. I read it. If you want to read horror graphic novels, I mean, Joe Hill is an obvious choice. All right, then we get to the IBM book. So I got a prompt to read a nonfiction, and I picked the biggest nonfiction I have on my HRCYED TBR, which is IBM, The Rise, the Fall, and the Reinvention of a Global Icon by James W. Cortada. And James Cortada wrote a 700+ page book about IBM because he used to work there, and he was fascinated with the history of the company, and it is a fascinating history. But I don't think it's worth a 700-page book. But then, to each its own. I read it. I listened to it on audio, and it was fascinating at times. It was filled with statistics and numbers that mean absolutely nothing to me. But I liked how he explained how the owners created the culture of IBM, which at the beginning was, let's focus on the customer, not so much on the technology. I mean, they focused on technology because you have to create products and whatnot, but it was sort of imperative to make the customer happy. And, so they would continue working with you, because one of their first big customers, was the US government. So they helped the American government do one of their first, national census to, what do you call that? When you count the people in your country, it's a census, right? Yes, it's a census. And they helped the US government, create their social security system, with the numbers and stuff, giving every person that they have there social security numbers. That's a big deal. They created typewriters. They created lots of technology to help businesses. And you saw how they basically survived the Great Depression, how they joined the computer revolution or whatever, how they helped create stuff, and they were having trouble creating their own personal computers and whatnot, and how it was at times fascinating, and it was interesting to see how they became a global company and how that affected their future business. So yeah, I read it. I now have lots of useful or useless information about IBM, depends on how you look at it. And I'm glad I finished it, but it did put me in a slump because I was really focusing quite heavily on it for like 6 days, and then I had to read Gilded Wolves after that, and it was like, oh Lord. So yeah, I read it. If you want to read a 700-page book about IBM, this is the one. And the last book I had to read for this game was Witch King by Martha Wells. This was like my pick a book because you finished the game book. And I picked a book that I was really looking forward to. And it turned out to be not for me. So in Witch King we follow... See, here's the thing. I think the marketing is the problem. When you read the summary on Goodreads, I don't know why, I thought this would be a funny book. Like, you know how Murderbot is funny? Murderbot, another book written by Martha Wells. I thought that it wouldn't be like a dry humor like Murderbot is, but it would be like humorous. Because if you read the summary on Goodreads, it's like, oh, this sounds fun. Like, it could be funny. And yeah, in this book we follow Kai. Kai is a demon who was trapped, I think a year ago, in this watery grave. And he wakes up and basically kills everyone who's trying to they basically woke him up to use his power for themselves. And so I thought he would be like, some stupid mage will try to use his power and he will be stuck with this mage and they will be going around on adventures to figure out who, put him in this grave. That's not what happened. Basically, he is a demon who can, he can jump bodies, but he can also, when he's in a body, he can use his power to suck the life out of other people. Turn them into husks, basically. And he wakes up and does exactly that. He kills the people around him. He finds his friend, also forgot her name, something that starts with Z. I remember that. That they were trapped together because they were powerful. She was a witch and he's a demon. And they go around trying to figure out what happened. And throughout the story, you've basically follow, present time and the past, where you learn more about Kai and how he met his friend that starts with Z and all the political machinations that he got himself into and he's now a part of. And he is, in the present trying to figure out if the, let's say, perfect world that he was trying to create with his friends, not world, but empire, country, something, if it's still on and if their absence fucked everything up. See, the thing with this is that it was so dry. I was like, dude, no. It took me... I was not at all interested in coming back to this book because while reading this book, I read 2 romances. That's how interested I was in coming back and finishing this book. It was so dry, and the characters kept going on various side quests. We have to get from point A to point B, and they did this instead of just doing that. And they always have to be like, oh, we have to go here to do this. It was a slog. It was a dry read. I did not have fun with it at all, but I read it. So I can finally remove that book from my TBR. And with that, I finished all the books I had to read for this prompt. And thank the Lord, the prompt is done. Oh, yay. So, the game is fun. The books I picked, they're okay. I'm glad I read the IBM one. Because I know a bunch of stuff about IBM that I didn't know before. So, yeah. If you want to find out more about HRCYED or the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do, just check out the information down below in the description box. Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!